Hi there, I'm Christian, and joining me is Constance, and we're here to talk about the latest issue of the New American Magazine entitled From Brexit to Amexit, Keep the Momentum Going. So Constance, can you tell us a little bit about what we could expect to find in this issue of the magazine?
Yeah, so this issue is huge. It's got 3 different cover stories, and one of them is by William Jasper, and it goes into context of what happened with the British vote and why it was so profound last month. So another cover story that's in this issue is by Alex Newman, and it's titled Brexit to Amexit. And it basically discusses the massive blow to the global establishment and how the vote that was previously discussed in William Jasper's article was so profound. In hopes of keeping the momentum going on this side of the pond, Congressman Thomas Massie popularized the hashtag Amexit, which basically stands for America's Exit from the United Nations. Interestingly enough, the John Birch Society has had its own campaign to get us out for years, so this movement could help America restore its national sovereignty.
Absolutely. Congressman Thomas Massie is the co-sponsor of H.R. 1205, the American Sovereignty and Restoration Act, essentially the Amexit bill, if you will, that was introduced by Congressman Mike Rogers, which interestingly enough is the same bill that former Congressman Ron Paul had been sponsoring for decades in the House, and before that even our own former JBS chairman, who was a member of Congress, Larry McDonald. He was the main sponsor of the United Nations Termination Act until his plane was shot down back in 1983. So there's a strong history between the John Birch Society and this campaign to get us out of the United Nations. And I would recommend everyone read Newman's article regarding our need for an Amexit from the United Nations, being inspired by what the British have just accomplished over at the UK. The remaining cover story in this issue is by William Jasper, again, entitled Trade EU as Model for TPP, TTIP. And essentially the main purpose of this article by Jasper is just to explain or highlight how the end goal of both the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, the TTIP, is essentially to create another European Union-like entity. Jasper quotes a lot from Senator Sessions, who has read the agreement in detail, and Senator Sessions points out that this is nothing more than just the creation of another European Union, where we're going to have this body, this TPP Commission, that's going to have all this oversight power over various aspects of domestic life that have nothing to do with trade to begin with.
Right.
And Jasper goes on to say, why don't we have our own Brexit or preemptive Amexit, if you will, from these agreements before joining them, seeing the trouble it's caused Britain. That's going to happen to us unless we leave these agreements before we enter them to begin with.
So Christian, I know you're such a big fan of Hillary, and good news for you. There is a book review of Crisis of Character, and it details a Secret Service officer and how he discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary and Bill, and basically how they operate. The book review is here for the reader, and it basically tells you if it's worth the read. So as part of an ongoing series, New American has been sharing voting records and backgrounds of some noteworthy U.S. politicians. So Christian, who did we write about this time?
Fortunately, this time it was not my girl Hillary.
Oh.
Instead, we cover Senator Michael Bennett from Colorado, a Democrat. And I look at his voting record on several issues, from abortion to gun control to illegal immigration and Obama trade. And like some of the other candidates I've covered that were Democrats in the past, Senator Bennett, in this case, he's right with President Obama from the get-go on various issues. He's a staunch supporter of Planned Parenthood. Even despite the controversy with undercover footage, he stands with them. When it comes to gun control, the only good thing I can say about him is that he does not favor the assault weapons ban that was proposed before, but just because he opposed it initially, we have to remember he has supported every other gun control measure. And if this guy does get reelected, he would probably switch his position and also support the assault weapons ban, so-called assault weapons ban, really. He's trying to make himself look like he's not the strongest, like he's not the most fiercest anti-Second Amendment person. He wants to give himself a little bit of wiggle room in this election year. But when you look at his record, it's heavily in favor of gun control as opposed to defending the Second Amendment of our Constitution and our right to bear arms.
Didn't he score only like a 10% in the Freedom Index?
That's absolutely right. He has a dismal Freedom Index score of just 10%. And in this issue, we cover some of the reasons why he has that 10%. Hopefully, readers will check that out and learn much more about this senator from Colorado.
Be sure to get your copy at shopjbs.org and let us know your thoughts on our social media pages.